Hello and welcome to Airheads, a not-so-serious look at the serious business of royal rumours, gossip and gowns. I'm Tom.
And I'm Maeve.
And we're kickstarting 2020 with a very exciting announcement.
We wanted to come back and announce a very, very special prize. It is the most prestigious prize in the history of announcements.
It's been likened to the Nobel Prize in ballyhoo and brouhaha. It is the Bullshot Prize.
We are awarding our inaugural Bullshot Prize to Prince William for the announcement of the Earthshot Prize.
This, I think, even happened before the year properly started. Like, we're only a few days into 2020 and already we've got some not-so-serious royal rumours, gossip and gowns.
I guess, we thought, the Christmas period is always kind of a busy one for the royals because you have all the stuff going, with the Christmas message and the walk and all that stuff. But, Will and Kate weren't happy with that. They will needed a bit more attention. So we heard before Christmas on Omid Scobie's podcast, the AirPod, that the Cambridges had done a press briefing at Kensington Palace and that they would be making an announcement over the holiday break, which people went wild with this. We heard Kate was going to announce she was pregnant. Kate was going to go on a solo tour. All kinds of stuff. Everybody was
very focused on Kate, though, which is really funny. Will's like, I've got a big announcement. I'm like, oh, your wife's doing something interesting.
But then, it seemed like there were a few false starts because, we did get that new black and white photo of Will and the kids, and then they released some previously unseen photos of Kate when she was doing that midwife work experience. And I kept thinking, is this the announcement? And then to hype us up even further, Kensington Palace did a little teaser as if it was a new Marvel film where they tweeted, "Stay tuned for our first announcement of 2020 very shortly," with an earth emoji. And this was on December 30th. And because it was an earth emoji, people were like, oh, a tour. They're going on tour. But no, it was something quite different.
Yeah, so Will announced the Earthshot Prize, which is a multi-million-pound fund to promote research into solving climate problems. And his own office really went hard on it. They said it's the most prestigious environmental prize in history.
And it was reported in the Telegraph and the Express that it has been likened to the Nobel Prize by the Telegraph and the Express. Yeah. And it's also been endorsed by David Attenborough, so they released a little launch video and he did the voiceover on it. It sounds like a good idea. Basically what it is it's going to begin this year, but it's going to be a 10-year project, and the idea is that it will reward 50 innovative ideas for tackling problems caused by climate change, and the first award will be given out in 2021, and that's going to become an annual ceremony. But Kensington Palace hasn't said how much money will actually be awarded to the winners each year or where the money's coming from.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one, I think. Where are they going to get all the money from?
But I think what's more interesting is, what this says about Will. And, we've seen Meghan and Harry, for instance, really laying claim to certain issues as their issues. We talked about when Meghan did the September issue, that she was like, okay, this is my thing. And Harry has also done that. And he was kind of making the environment his thing. And then Will was like, no, I'm the future king. I need something that is mine and mine alone. And clearly this is it. We got a lot of commentary around it in the BBC. Their royal correspondent, Johnny Diamond, he quoted a palace source who was talking about the massive level of ambition involved, that it was the biggest commitment the Duke has ever made. And Johnny Diamond said that it represents another level of exposure for Prince William. And, it was really signalled that this is Will's thing, even though it is going to be run by the Royal Foundation, which is a joint thing of Will and Kate's. And some of the reports were talking about Will and Kate, but really it's Will. Kensington Royal even posted a picture of Will to announce it, which was taken by his Instagram wife, Kate Middleton, on their tour in Pakistan.
The amazing photo where he totally blends into the background.
Where he's sort of gazing off into the distance.
Wearing his mountain brown trousers and sky blue shirts.
Thinking about the environment.
I mean, I like that it's the biggest commitment the Duke has ever made. Like, it's only for 10 years. How long is the marriage going to last? Yeah, the name is a reference to JFK's moonshot program in the 60s. Does he see himself as the UK's JFK?
Is Rose Hanbury his Marilyn? I am interested, though, in, like, if this is this new level of exposure, this big commitment for Will, you know, this is his big thing. Is this going to follow him around the way it followed Harry around all of last year? Are we going to get the same frenzied focus on how he travels and everything he does in regards to its carbon footprint? There are reports that Kate and Will are going to go to Mystique next week for Kate's birthday, and as we know, they almost always fly private when they go there. So is Will going to be held accountable for that in the same way his brother has?
No way. So quite shortly after the Kensington Palace briefing, which was hyping up all the announcements of the announcements, the Daily Mail broke a story that Harry and Meghan were spending Christmas in Canada, and then Buckingham Palace confirmed it not long after that. But where do we think this information came from?
I thought it was particularly notable how this friend of Harry and Meghan's described what they were doing in Canada, where they told the Mail they have barely set foot outside the door and have been enjoying some quality family time together. So you have that contrast of the Kensington Palace briefing announcing all of the many announcements of all the things that the Cambridges are going to be doing, and somebody making sure to have it written down that Harry and Meghan have barely set foot outside the door and
famous
are lazing about
potatoes.
But whoever leaked this story, it seems like Harry and Meghan knew that at some point it would come out where they were, because they had this little interesting line in their statement about it where they said, as has been reported, their Royal Highnesses the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are spending private family time in Canada. The decision to base themselves in Canada reflects the importance of this Commonwealth country to them both.
Fuck you.
Like, it's pretty heavy-handed. It reminds me of when they said they were going on the break and that it, you know, there's a precedent for this, and, you know, they kind of shoehorn that stuff in to sort of do a preemptive defense of the criticisms that they know they're going to get. And clearly the fact that they chose Canada shows a certain amount of forethought at the idea that, well, it's a Commonwealth country. It's not like whenever Meghan goes to America and everybody freaks the fuck out.
Yeah. And it's definitely not just so that Harry can get a tour of the Suits set.
Apparently they went to Toronto first, and then they spent Christmas in Vancouver Island, which we learned after the co-owner of a restaurant there very nobly told the local press that they had refused to serve Harry and Meghan because of their very intense security demands, and in the same breath told them, let them have their peace and quiet. I wish them all the privacy they can possibly get. They deserve it.
Just let them be private, but let me give out their exact location.
Like, blowing up their spot and also talking about how you refuse to serve them, and at the same time saying, well, they deserve their privacy.
Yeah.
It's pretty rich, but apparently they received quite a lot of harassment online from this. So, I mean, that sucks, obviously. That's, again, all the worst parts of the royal fandom. But at the same time, I kind of don't want to know what they're doing in Vancouver Island. Like, we heard a story about how Meghan offered to take a picture of a couple when they were out walking with their dogs.
It came across as like delirious fan fiction, but maybe it's true.
But we heard that they had a little help arranging this trip from none other than music producer David Foster, who is the much older husband of Catherine McPhee, the West End star of Waitress, who was in school with Meghan in Los Angeles. And for some reason, like, all these people talking to the press about Harry and Meghan when their whole thing is discretion. But anyway, he told the Mail that he set them up with some accommodation in this very secluded waterfront estate that was owned by a close friend of his because he's Canadian. And he said, I was really happy to be able to help them to find a respite, just to take a little time off. The owner has allowed this to happen through me, and I was happy to facilitate. Now, maybe Harry and Meghan wanted that message out there, because I did think it was interesting that there was a lot of stories about that they were staying in a mansion that cost $14 million.
Right.
And while he doesn't say that this stay is comped, he says he doesn't know if they're paying. Maybe that's what they wanted out there, like for people to know that they were staying with a friend, and they weren't paying. Obviously, they weren't paying £14 million. They didn't buy it, but also after that story came out, there was a story about how Will and Kate were likely to be going on holiday to stay in a £15 million estate.
It's really funny how they're reporting
Classic
them all
Will.
like you buy the place when you go there, though. Like 14 million, 15 million.
Well, if my brother's staying in a £14 million place, you can bet I'm staying in a £15 million place, you know? We got a little bit of info about what Santa brought for Archie for his first Christmas.
Oh, yeah. He got the 3 Bs. Books, building blocks, and a ball pit. Which is very similar to what I got, actually.
This is in Us Weekly. Who knows how legit this is. But I also really like that this source went on, as sources tend to do, saying, you can tell Archie's going to be a confident social butterfly. He loves being entertained and interacting with people. Some children get shy or nervous around new people, but not Archie. He'll go to anyone without kicking up a fuss.
They're making him sound like he's like hosting dinner parties at his ball pit. It's like, oh, have you tried the ball pit? Oh, I've got a wonderful new book I simply must show you.
One of the people he was entertaining, though, was Meghan's good pal, Janina Gavankar, who Tom and I are big fans of. You might remember her. She wore that incredible orange coral cape dress at Meghan and Harry's wedding. She is also an actress on things like The Morning Show, and
you may know her from such work as additional voices on Star Wars Rise of Skywalker.
But she took the Sussex's Christmas card. She took the photograph for them this year, and it was so Meghan.
Yeah.
It was black and white, because of course it was. Will we ever see a colour photo of this family that wasn't taken by
Kate.
the press? But not only that, it was animated with sparkles, because it came to us as a GIF from the Queen's Commonwealth Trust, who tweeted it out. And it was adorable.
It was a really cute image, but it didn't escape the usual trolling and press treatment, because the Daily Mail wrote an article immediately, which is still up there if you want to check it out, with the headline, was Meghan Markle's face photoshopped onto a Christmas e-card? Experts say Duchess of Sussex's face appears weirdly in focus in Archie snap, while Prince Harry is blurry. So this is all down to the fact that they took an edited version of the screenshot of the e-card, in which someone had incredibly badly photoshopped Meghan Markle's face to be like super high contrast, and I guess trying to make it look in focus. If you look at the two, the original, which Janina then tweeted out, and compare it to this one, like, you will laugh out loud. It's insane.
Like, even somebody who has no knowledge of graphic design should be able to tell that this picture is fake. Like,
it's so funny because the Daily Mail article involves them doing all these kind of impressive things, like flattening the shadows on the image and all these, like, basically like their CSI on this image, but they never acknowledge the fact that this is not the original image, which makes them look like total idiots.
Yeah, their picture desk went to all this work when really what a picture desk would do is verify the source of the image. But anyway, Janina thankfully did the work for them by tweeting out the original and added, to the Mail, I see your campaign against my friend continues. Nice Photoshop of my non-photoshopped image. Now may we all get back to the spirit of Christmas and not the spirit of maliciousness.
I hate the spirit of maliciousness.
Me too.
But in general, the royal Christmas cards came quite late this year, I felt. The Cambridges and Sussexes revealed their cards much later than they did last year. And also, they tended to be revealed through people's photos or screenshots of the images rather than like an official rollout, which I'm not sure if that was the same last year.
No, it wasn't. But I think it was a concerted effort to draw more attention to their charities.
Right.
So while Charles and Camilla released their card through their Clarence House social channels, the Cambridge card was posted to Twitter by the Air Commodore Don McCafferty, and that was the only sight of it that we got. They didn't share it themselves anywhere, but I'm sure everybody's seen it already. It's the shot of Will on the vintage motorbike, Kate in lovely printed dress beside him, kids all around, everybody coordinated in blue, very sunny, clearly taken while they were on holiday, possibly in Mustique, although location's not confirmed. And then, I mean, they were completely one-upped then by Daddy, because Charles vroomed in with Camilla in his vintage MG, wearing sunglasses, with Camilla by his side.
Also wearing sunglasses.
From their trip to Cuba earlier this year. It's so good.
This was the trip where it was like a work trip, but they definitely built in holiday time. You had the great sexy pictures of Charles in his swimming trunks on the beach. And now we know that they were just absolutely like gunning it down the streets in Havana.
And they looked every inch the empty nester couple.
Yeah.
But the Christmas card that Tom and I were most interested in was Andrew's. And boy, did he deliver, huh?
Just to remove it from the context for a second, it was like very abstract, the two images that they used. They used, I think the main image was a picture of like a track, and it's been suggested that it was taken on the Balmoral estate. And underneath that is the caption, "We look to the road ahead." And then the other image is a picture of their dog's bum, and it says, "Say goodbye to 2019.
I mean, like, typically unsubtle, right? Like
Obviously very much referencing what's going on, but they've definitely completely disregarded the fact this is like a Christmas card. Like, there's nothing festive about either of these images. Like, the track is very brown. It's not like snowy or frosty or anything, and there's no like images of the family or anything like that.
And then inside is the message, "We are united with gratitude for your support and kindness. Thank you."
And then it's signed by them all, presumably holding a metaphorical gun to Beatrice's head, like, "You want to get married?"
But we were all dying to know what was going to happen on Christmas Day. Was Andrew going to join the whole family for that church walk in Sandringham, or was he going to stay put? And
yeah, this was meant to be the litmus test of public opinion, and Andrew did the honourable thing and ducked out. So he didn't attend the 11 o'clock public photo op service. He went to a private service earlier, which he went to with the Queen, and the Telegraph also says, "and other members of the royal family," but, you know, if they weren't named.
well, he walked there with Charles, because we saw the pictures of them walking together.
Yeah.
Looking like decidedly uncheery.
Yeah. But this was before the public were allowed onto the estate.
So he chose to skip this 11 a.m. service so that he could spend more time with Philip, who was just out of hospital. The Telegraph said of this that the Duke's absence meant he was not present to greet the crowds or take part in the traditional Christmas Day photo opportunity. While royal sources describe the decision as personal, the service is considered an official engagement with attendance approved by the Queen. So I guess that's their way of saying the Queen told him to stay put.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God he didn't go, though, because this was also the first year that we saw young George and Charlotte on the church walk.
Yeah, this was a turn up for the books. We had George looking really pissed off at everything, but wearing trousers, so that was good. And Charlotte came dressed as Kate's handbag, which was great. She's really good at shaking hands, inspecting presents, and she apparently did a curtsy but I remain to be convinced.
You're a bit sceptical about the curtsy, about whether it was in fact a curtsy or just a step.
Yeah.
But like, she was the star of the show and everybody was going nuts for her, and Kate had done like super mummy daughter coordination. Kate got some new buttons for Christmas and she made sure that Charlotte matched perfectly with what she was wearing. It was a little bit OTT for me. I thought the whole thing was a little bit OTT. Like, it was very much, these adorable kids are the human shield for their like creepy disgraced uncle. Not sure that's like the memory I would want to have for their first church walk, but we knew this was likely to happen, and it was kind of all part of this shift that we've seen in the last month, with like way more of a focus on the Cambridges, and especially because Harry and Meghan weren't there, they were really in the spotlight. And you know, George may not have been so keen, but Charlotte lived up to...
Oh yeah, she stepped up. She's clearly the Princess Anne of this sibling group.
Our little bloke Prince Louis was missing, though, unfortunately. Some reporters thought he was back at Anmore Hall with Carol and Michael Middleton, but we later learned that the Middletons did not spend Christmas with the Cambridges. Instead, they went to sunny St. Bart's with Pippa and her husband James Matthews, whose parents own a 5-star resort there called Eden Rock. This whole thing is kind of wacky to me because the Mail got some exclusive bikini pics of Pippa and Carol and Michael.
Very tacky move from the Middletons, who are meant to be like the good commoners that married into the royal family. Very tacky to sell your beach snaps to a tabloid.
Allegedly. Like, especially a tabloid that members of your extended family are famously suing.
Yeah. I mean, Party Pieces must be not doing so well.
Or maybe there's something else going on here. We don't know. But I was very suspicious to see these, like, tons and tons of pictures with headlines and captions about Carol's stunning, svelte, incredibly toned physique. Like, chill out. And if that wasn't bad enough, there was like a separate story on Papa Middleton. Michael Middleton made a fashion statement of his own. The Party Pieces businessman sported a flattering pair of £225 Orla Bar brown swimming shorts featuring an image of Eden Rock, sold exclusively at the hotel.
So much spawn here.
Well, like, I'm so confused by all of this, that it's so blatant and so gauche. Like, such a vulgar move by this family. But... you know, that's maybe something to keep an eye on.
But we also had our eyes on little Prince George this Christmas. If you remember, before Christmas, there was the Queen's Christmas luncheon and there were all eyes on Kate and Will. Why did they arrive separately? And we were told, it's no big deal. They just were coming from different events. Will and George were at something top secret.
They had to go early for a separate special event, which turned out to be an extremely unsubtle photo opportunity where they made a Christmas pudding together. This is obviously, they saw how that Mary Berry Christmas special went down and they said baking is the future.
Yeah.
We've got to change the narrative from all of the messiness around Andrew. The way to do it is to shove the Queen and her heirs together doing baking.
I mean, are they going to be eating this Christmas pudding in May? Doesn't it take ages to make a Christmas pudding? You had them all kind of hovering around, tipping things into a bowl, and Prince George mashing it all really aggressively with a wooden spoon.
Yeah, we saw a clip of this moment later in the Queen's Christmas message. At the very end, they like shoved in this little clip of them all making this Christmas pudding together and George just like going ham on it with the spoon and the Queen sort of like furtively edging away from it all.
She's suddenly really interested in the bowl of raisins that's furthest away from George. And this is all in the kind of opulent Buckingham Palace background.
It was so ridiculous. Like, there was absolutely nothing candid or familial about this at all. Like, no one was wearing an apron. Everybody was dressed up. Like, the Queen, like, everybody's been talking about how the Queen still had her bloody handbag in her arm the whole time. Like, she had no plans of touching that spoon, you know?
Yeah.
Like, nobody did. She's looked totally hands off. Like, everybody just looked ridiculous, so stiff, so formal.
Yeah.
It was the most, like, screamingly obvious, like, distract kind of picture ever.
Yeah, clearly the message is really being switched to these are the heirs, focus on the heirs, but no one needs to see them baking together.
Or if they do want to do this baking photo, like, do it in a kitchen, do it with aprons on, have people roll their sleeves up, have the guys take their blazers off.
Get Nadia around. She's just got a prize.
You know, there is a way to do this and make it look sweet instead of, like, calculated. And that's a real turn off. But in general, the Christmas message, aside from that great clip, was very, very dull. I'd never watched it before. I'm never going to watch it again because it was, like, so boring. She's not a great speaker and everything in it was dull. Yeah,
there was a lot of controversy when the still image was released from the message, like, ahead of time, that there were no pictures of Harry and Meghan or Archie on her desk, and then everyone was leaping to her defence, saying, it's only the heirs allowed, she just loves the heirs and her daddy, it's heirs and daddy.
People kept pointing to, you know, here in 2014, and, like, this is what she did in 2009, and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, fair enough, that may be her intention, but it looks bad, and it, like, very easily handed stories to the Times, the Scotsman, a bunch of papers, and as well all the online publications led with the no Harry and Meghan absent from the portraits on the Queen's desk. And, you know, whatever her intention was, it didn't look good, but it seems to all have been part of this very purposeful, deliberate shift that seems to have been quite rapid. Like, in the time since Harry and Meghan went on their break, they've really shifted gears and all attention is on the Queen and the heirs. And it's like we've seen Charles's slimmed down monarchy come into effect. And to hammer that home, to mark the new year, they released a new portrait of the Queen, Charles, Will and George, which was clearly taken the same day as that, like, stupid baking gimmick. And that really emphasises the slimmed down monarchy, the Queen and her direct heirs. That's the focus. They also did one of these photos in 2016 to mark the Queen's 90th birthday. And George had to stand on a load of blocks in that one to get up to everyone else's height. But this time, he got to stand on the red carpet. He just had to stand on a little step with Charles, who maybe sort of insecure about his height, we don't know. But everyone was nuts about this picture because George got to wear long trousers, and for the occasion they selected some very ill-fitting black watch tartan trousers, which have been hailed as trendy but are in fact a political gesture.
Political pants.
They are, because immediately when the picture came out, we had correspondents noting that this is meant to nod to Scotland and is symbolising the United Kingdom, because you have the Prince of Wales in Charles, the Duke of Cambridge in Will, and Scotland is also there as tartan trousers. So clearly this is an implicit message that the Queen still opposes the Scottish independence referendum, right, Tom?
Oh, absolutely. This is much more than a raised eyebrow.
But yeah, again, it's all about the Queen and the heirs. You know, Andrew is minimised, Harry and Meghan are minimised. It's all Cambridge's and Charles going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see about that.
It was pretty slim pickings for quote of the week this week, but we decided to go with the Queen from her Christmas message. We took the line, which is really the only clear allusion, or maybe not even that clear, to everything that's gone on this year with Andrew. So this is when she said, "The path, of course, is not always smooth, and may at times this year have felt quite bumpy, but small steps can make a world of difference." I don't know. I think they're going to need to make some pretty big steps if they're going to overcome this.
But there was a clear standout for our fit for a king.
Oh, yes. The moment I saw this outfit, I was blown away. I knew it had to be fit for a king.
Our fashion king, Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor.
He looked so cool. So, should we break down the full outfit?
Well, we saw this outfit in an incredibly cute picture that was in the Sussex's New Year message that they posted on Instagram, and it showed, like, obviously everybody has seen this picture by now because it's amazing, Harry holding Archie in his arms, Harry like beaming, looking like delighted, Archie looking so cute, in Canada presumably, taken by Meghan presumably, and Archie is wearing a pair of Ugg boots.
I've never wanted Ugg boots ever before in my life. I always thought they were horrible, but now I'm thinking 2020, could it be the year of the Ugg?
With some grey cable knit leggings, maybe?
Yeah, and a cord jacket, corduroy, very in menswear at the moment.
So I thought this outfit really gave us an insight into Meghan's children's wear strategy, because as we know, everybody was wondering, was she going to go down this like super old-fashioned traditional style that we've seen with the Cambridge kids? But it seems like Archie's wardrobe is a sort of distilled version of Meghan's wardrobe. So we've got the Ugg boots, which were a gift that Harry and Meghan received on their Australia tour in 2018. So literally like the day they announced that Meghan was pregnant, like the first thing they got was this tiny pair of Ugg boots. Adorable. Then the jacket is from Bowden, which is a British high street brand, so very affordable, supporting a British brand, because we know Meghan's been criticised for not wearing British brands enough. And Archie also wore a Bowden jumper in the Christmas card, the one with the panda on it. This time it had a dog's face on the hood. It was so cute. And then finally, the beanie, both Daddy and Baby were wearing beanies. Archie's came from Make, Give, Live, a social enterprise in New Zealand, which donates one hat to charity for every one sold, and it's made up of like 11 community knitting groups, so everybody like knits the hats together. And they gave a gift of a hat to Meghan in 2018 when they went to New Zealand, but then she bought two more in a bigger size, including this like grey bobble hat that Archie wears in the photo. And there was a really good story about this group Make, Give, Live, that in 1 month of 2019 the group received 45 orders for hats, but following the Sussex's Instagram post they received more than 300 in a single day.
It's amazing, and what it means is that they're going to be able to expand the enterprise. They're literally going to be able to have more knitting groups, more people involved, and be giving away loads more hats to people who need them.
And already we've got a new little royal influencer. Like, has anything Will or Harry's worn sold out like this?
It's time for Louis to step up.
What about first in line, Tom? Who is our first in line of the new year?
There was really only one choice for me again, and that was Janina Gavankar.
Yeah, Janina was our hero, really, for protecting Meghan, for defending her own photography skills.
Yeah, she's clearly the perfect photographer that you'd want to work with if you're someone like Meghan. She clearly got the aesthetic. She took on board the kind of mood board that maybe the Pinterest that Meghan sent her. She really distilled those ideas down and came up with something that was instantly very Meghan, but also something we hadn't seen before. Namely, a massive picture of Archie's face, which is what everyone has been wanting for so long.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing work, Janina. If you want to know more about Janina, she did an incredible interview with one of our favorite podcasts, Who Weekly, last year. So you should look that up. She doesn't talk about Meghan in it, but she talks a lot about herself, and she's a rock star. Anyway, next week. So next week is Kate's birthday. She's going to be turning 38 on Thursday. And as we said, she will likely be in Mustique or maybe skiing or something. They usually go on holiday this time of year. And the rest of the family are also off. Camilla will be back at work in a couple of weeks.
Of course she will be.
And Anne is already starting up again. But we are going to play it by ear and see if there are more engagements announced or if there's anything else going on in the calendar. We will do an episode, but otherwise we might take it off.
Yeah. Thanks so much for listening to our first episode back. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts, or tell a friend.
You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at airheadspod, and on Facebook at airheads.
Thanks so much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye.
Ugg boots.
Welcome.
My mum just bought some Ugg boots online last week. Uggs are the best.